In college physics, our professor wanted to show how inertia works. He set up a full dinner table, plates, glasses, silverware, everything, then grabbed the tablecloth with dramatic flair. He yanked it like a magician, and launched about 50 pounds of glass across the room. After a moment of silence and shattered dignity, he sighed and said, "And that, class, is an example of too much friction." Then just walked out. My high school biology teacher fully believed that dinosaurs and humans lived side by side, because she saw it in the Flintstones. She said it was based on true events, and that scientists were lying about it. When a student showed her an actual textbook explaining the prehistoric timeline, she accused him of believing government propaganda. I wish I were kidding. In 7th grade, my history teacher confidently told the whole class that Julius Caesar was the first president of the United States. When a student tried to politely correct him and said, "Actually, it was George Washington," the teacher got furious, accused the kid of being disruptive, and sent him to the principal's office. He then spent the rest of the lesson passionately explaining how the Roman numerals on the dollar bill proved Caesar founded America. Not a hint of irony in sight. My literature professor once failed the entire class on the final project. Why? Because he completely forgot he'd ever assigned one. When we showed him the syllabus and our finished essays, he just shrugged and said, "Well, you should have reminded me." Too late now. The entire class had to retake the course next semester. We once had a substitute for chemistry who had no clue what she was doing. A student asked her about ionic bonds, and she just froze. Then she said, "Open your books to any page and copy it word for word. Knowledge is in the book, and if you write the book, you'll have the knowledge." We spent 45 minutes silently copying random pages while she stared into the void. My geography teacher held up a map, pointed to Africa, and asked, "Who knows the capital of this country?" Someone nervously said, Africa's a continent." The teacher dramatically sighed and said, "That's a common mistake. The capital is Egypt." He was dead serious. In art class, a teacher accidentally threw away a student's final sculpture. Thought it was trash. When the student asked what happened, the teacher denied ever seeing it. Later that day, the student found it sticking out of the dumpster. The teacher still gave them a 0 for not submitting it properly. My computer science teacher couldn't actually use a computer. He made us write HTML code by hand in our notebooks. For the final, we had to type our handwritten code into Microsoft Word, print it out, and turn it in. He said he'd run it later. We're 90% sure he just looked at the paper and guessed grades. One professor graded essays by throwing them down the stairs. He said it was a fair randomization method. Papers that landed near the top got A's, the middle got B's and C's, and the ones that hit the bottom got F's. He even did a live demonstration. I don't think statistics was his strong suit. My health teacher once told the class that the best way to stop a cold was to smoke a cigarette. He said, "The smoke dries your lungs and kills germs before they can make you sick." He also claimed soda was healthier than juice because the bubbles scrub your insides clean. This was at an accredited high school. My Spanish teacher couldn't actually speak Spanish. Every lesson came straight from Google Translate. One day, a native Spanish-speaking student asked her a simple question, and she just froze like a deer in headlights. She typed the question into her phone, read the translation, then typed her answer in English and played the robotic voice out loud in Spanish. It was like watching two eyes trying to communicate. In my creative writing class, our professor assigned a 20-page story for the final. One student turned in a masterpiece, amazing plot, great characters, super polished. He got an F. The teacher's only comment, "I don't like stories where the main character's name is Kevin." The student's actual name wasn't Kevin, only the character's was. That was the entire reason for the failing grade. My PE teacher was the definition of lazy. He'd run track practice from a golf cart, chips in one hand, megaphone in the other. If someone wasn't running fast enough, he'd honk behind them and yell, "Motivation." We called it drive-by coaching. A college philosophy professor gave us a final exam with just one word written on the board. Why? He said our grades would depend on the depth of our response. I wrote a 10-page paper on existential meaning. Got a C. The student who got an A just wrote, because, and left after 5 minutes. Our English teacher hated technology. When the school installed a fancy smartboard, she ignored all the features and used it like a whiteboard. Except she wrote on it with permanent markers. It took the janitors 3 days and half a gallon of solvent to clean off her grammar notes. My economics professor once spent an entire lecture trying to recruit us into a pyramid scheme. He said selling energized wellness water was real-world economics in action. He even drew profit diagrams on the board and promised we could all get rich. A week later, the school got a complaint, and he got fired. Our history teacher was obsessed with conspiracy theories. Instead of teaching the Civil War, he spent 6 straight weeks proving the moon landing was fake. He showed us YouTube documentaries and made us write essays on why the shadows don't match. We never even made it to Abraham Lincoln. My driving instructor literally fell asleep while I was learning to merge onto the highway for the first time. Head against the window, snoring, completely out cold. I had to drive for 20 minutes terrified out of my mind before I could safely pull over and wake him up. He just blinked and said, "Good job staying calm." My choir teacher couldn't sing in tune to save her life. She'd tell the sopranos they sounded too pointy, and the tenors to sound more purple. Nobody ever knew what she meant. When we did hit the right note, she'd wince and say, "No, that's wrong." Every rehearsal sounded like a haunted zoo. A university lecturer had a strict, no questions, rule during class. He said questions disrupted his flow of genius. If you had one, you had to write it on paper and hand it in at the end. He'd collect them, put them in his briefcase, and say, "I'll meditate on these." We never got a single answer all semester. My chemistry teacher tried to impress us with a cool experiment involving fire. He mixed 2 chemicals that absolutely should not have been mixed, and within seconds, a giant green cloud filled the classroom. The fire alarms went off, the building evacuated, and the whole science wing smelled like toxic pickles for a week. He blamed the explosion on a student for breathing too close to the beaker. Our literature professor swore that Moby Dick wasn't about a man obsessed with a whale. No, according to him, it was really a metaphor for the author's anger at bad cheese. He gave hour-long rants about 19th century dairy quality and failed any student who dared mention a whale in their essays. I still don't know if he was serious. My freshman biology teacher claimed that plants can feel pain and scream when you cut them, just at a frequency humans can't hear. He cited a debunked 1970s study as proof. One girl started crying when he told her mowing the lawn was basically mass plant murder. He said she had a guilty conscience. My math teacher once got stuck on a problem during class. He kept getting the wrong answer, erased the board 10 times, and finally slammed the chalk down. "This textbook is full of errors," he shouted. A student quietly walked up, solved it in 30 seconds, perfectly. The teacher gave him detention for showing off. One social studies teacher gave a kid detention for yawning. The official reason written on the slip? Audible display of boredom. The student tried to explain he was just tired, but the teacher said, "Your exhaustion is disrespectful to the learning environment." He made him reflect after school for an hour. My anthropology professor once told the class that all Asian people are good at math because their brains are shaped differently. He said it so confidently that half the students started taking notes. By the end of the semester, he was no longer employed. A professor in one of my classes plagiarized his own lectures straight from Wikipedia. A student realized it when he read, "Citation needed," out loud without noticing. When confronted, he said, "Well, the information's accurate, isn't it?" Not the defense he thought it was. My high school English teacher had a bizarre rule: if you used the word "very" in your essay, automatic fail. She said it was a weak and useless word. One student wrote an incredible paper, but used very once. He got a 45%. She circled it 50 times in red ink like it was a crime scene. A substitute walked into our French class, smiled, and said, "Bonjour." We all responded, "Bonjour." Then she said, "That's all the French I know. Please enjoy this movie." She put on Fast and Furious 6 and spent the rest of the class reading a magazine. Honestly, it was the most peaceful French lesson we ever had. My professor for ancient civilizations spent 20 minutes trying to get the projector to work. The screen stayed black. He unplugged everything, rebooted the computer, even called IT. Finally, a student from the back shouted, "Try taking the lens cap off." He did. The picture instantly appeared. He didn't say a single word for the next 5 minutes. In psychology class, our professor gave us a surprise quiz, but every single question was impossible to answer. Stuff like, "What color is a mirror?" We all failed miserably. Then he smiled and said, "The test wasn't about knowledge. It was about how you handle failure." He still gave us all F's, though. Apparently, the real lesson was suffering. I took a world religions class taught by a professor who absolutely despised religion. He was supposed to be objective, but every lecture turned into a roast. He called Jesus a zombie magician, said Buddha was a guy too lazy to get up from under a tree, and claimed every faith was just cosplay with rules. It was less theology, more stand-up comedy, and not the funny kind. My film studies professor genuinely believed he invented the close-up shot. He told us before my student films in the 80s, everything was wide shots. When a student mentioned The Passion of Joan of Arc from 1928, one of the most famous examples of close-ups, the professor snapped, "You're killing my creative energy." He sulked for the rest of the lecture. A teacher confiscated a student's phone for texting during class, standard policy. But instead of turning it into the office, he answered a call from the student's mom pretending to be the student. He had a full 3-minute conversation about weekend plans before she realized it wasn't her kid. He thought it was hysterical. The mom didn't. My college statistics professor had such bad handwriting it looked like abstract art. He'd write formulas on the board that looked like spaghetti and scribbles. When a student asked what a symbol meant, he just repeated the same word in his thick accent, louder, like that helped. We all just copied squiggles and hoped for the best. In a communications course, our professor forgot his mic was on during a Zoom lecture. He spent 5 full minutes talking to his cat, in baby voice, about how much he hated grading our essays. When he realized we'd all heard, he pretended it was part of a demonstration on tone and authenticity. Nobody bought it. My art history professor once confidently told the class that Leonardo DiCaprio painted the Mona Lisa. When someone corrected him, he said, "Well, maybe they were related." He doubled down when we laughed, saying, "Hollywood doesn't cast random people, you know." That man had a PhD. A political science teacher told us voting was pointless because the lizard people already decide everything. He wasn't joking. He showed us charts, videos, and something he called evidence. At the end of the semester, he handed out ballots for class president and said, "See? Rigged already." My computer lab instructor told us to close all tabs before logging off. A student accidentally left one open. He panicked, unplugged the entire server system, and said, "We could have been hacked." He treated it like a cybersecurity emergency. We were literally in Microsoft Word. In drama class, our teacher tried to demonstrate method acting by pretending to faint during rehearsal. We all rushed to help her, until she dramatically sat up and said, "See? You felt something." The next week she tried to fake a nosebleed and accidentally gave herself one for real. That was the last demonstration.